So welcome to Astrology Alert. I'm really happy to have you on my channel. And so what's been going on with you? Because we haven't talked in quite a while.
I know. I missed you. I've been watching you though. I've just not been able to catch you live if you have live ones, but not much. I got a new puppy and been busy
Nice.
with that. And I was talking to you about Mercury retrograde. I know I'm a Scorpio with Sagittarius, everything else, Scorpio sun. So I don't know what that means, but it's been a heck of a
It could
month
be,
for me.
it could be, uh, I'd have to look at the chart closely, but that Mercury retrograde, I noticed was one of the hardest I've experienced. I often just dismiss Mercury retrograde. No big deal. You get a few things, but no big deal. That one was tough in that quite a few things what happened that were very annoying. I forgot to record some things when I was supposed to. That really set me back on time. And I think it had to do with there was an eclipse of the moon that triggered the Scorpio Taurus axis in that month, and that probably added to it. So I have planets, not in my case, it's an Aquarius planet because you get Taurus, Scorpio, Aquarius, Leo. That was the axis that got triggered, but a Scorpio could experience it more problematically. Let's just say that Mercury retrograde. Yeah.
I was going to ask you because it's, I've had Mercury retrogrades before and it's no big deal, but this one, I thought, I'm glad I'm going to see Andre to ask how yours has been.
Yeah. Well, what are we going to do now, though? I mean, it's too late, right?
Well, you know what? Like it did tell me basement flooded twice. I learned, okay, you need a generator. It's learn what I need to do in the future. What I need to prepare for next time. So, but
Yeah.
I've been wanting to talk to you because so much stuff is going on. Oh my God. I cannot believe how much stuff just back to back to back. Every time I turn on the news, it's something new.
It's true. Yeah, it's true. They were covering today. I heard in the background something about the records investigation that Jack Smith is doing is looking like it's really ramping up because he's finishing all the interviews, and now it's a matter of what he decides to do. And apparently he went through all the staff and interviewed everybody and interviewed the lawyers. And it looks like he's looking for some pretty big stuff because, and this, by the way, apparently it was the Wall Street Journal saying this, so you can count on it probably being accurate. Something about how Trump's dealings with foreign countries, because I think they're looking for potential espionage because he kind of didn't, he never said, one of the pundits said that he's never denied on TV that he did something bad. Like he'll say, I wasn't important, or yeah, I might have done it. And the problem is you can't do that. You can't be showing.
Tell him if I want. I can do what I want with them.
Yeah,
He said it out loud.
Yeah.
And now I heard that Jack is wanting to get subpoenaing. What is it? The records from the Saudi golf thing.
That was what it was. Yeah, that's what it was because they're
some information.
Yeah, exactly. So like they're wondering if, I think they're trying to link his international affairs to the motive for why he might have been doing all of this, and that would be really bad, obviously. But even if they couldn't link to something horrible like he showed a record to a Saudi for the Gulf, whatever, even without that, he's definitely incurred in obstruction of justice because he was told by multiple lawyers, don't do this. And he kept ignoring them. And now they're turning on him because they were forced to talk to the grand jury to say, well, no, I mean, we told them, but, they've got the notes. Someone else mentioned that many of the Trump was very upset because Corcoran specifically and possibly another lawyer took too many notes. He hates it when they take notes because then they can incriminate him. I mean, the man is he's a criminal machine. He doesn't know how to stay within the law. He doesn't know how to do it.
He can't stop committing crimes.
No.
He can't stop lying. He just can't stop.
Right.
And three of his lawyers had turned on him. And what's the other?
Parlataro, yeah.
Parlatari, he's one of his main lawyers, and he's been on CNN and all these places saying that, what's his name, Boris, his other main lawyer, was stopping him from getting documents. So he's trying to cover his butt from getting in trouble because he's seeing the writing on the wall, I think. And so he's trying to get on all these news stations, and he's telling them. So now that I'll bet that Baratali or whatever, he's in trouble now.
Oh, yeah, no, that's the thing. I mean, I'm amazed that lawyers, I mean, really anybody who gets close to this guy doesn't have their head on properly, because this man is a dangerous person who destroys everything he touches. But if you're a lawyer, yeah, if I were a lawyer, I'd have a recorder in my jacket, and I'd be recording every single second. You know, I don't know if I would tell him. Maybe he wouldn't even hire me if I said, well, yeah, I'll be your lawyer, but anything you say to me is on the record. There is no hiding.
They lose their license. A lot of them end up in jail or in legal trouble, and they see it happening to others, you know, like Cohen, what happened to Cohen. Why do they even want to represent him? And then with the E.G. Carroll thing, he lost $5 million, and then he got right on CNN and publicly defamed her again.
I know. It's like a compulsive, you know, in the astrology. The funny part about Trump is that he's a specialist in corrupting everything in life and in the astrology. And that astrology, as I understand it, the planets are like ranges of energy. They're like a frequency field for every planet, and everyone does them at whatever level they understand, or, you know, your level of wisdom, your level of genetics. I mean, there are all these factors that enable you to do your Saturn in a certain way, your Sun, your Uranus. This guy corrupts everything. He takes it all to the bottom of the well. And so one of those among many, Uranus in his chart, Uranus is the rebellious energy, which can be very useful for a person to break free from restrictions and do something unique and all of this. But in his case, it's a really hyper-pitched planet. And so what he does is he uses it so much that he never respects any rules. To him, what he says, what he thinks, you know, like that whole line of, all I have to do is think about it and it's declassified. No, that's not how the rule works. You can say that, but that's not how the rule works. I mean, it's remarkable. Yeah, exactly. So then now he's faced with the fact that it's no longer working, because, as an example, if you have a lot of Uranus you're throwing into the world all the time, and then you enter a Saturn cycle like he did March 8th, which is really when things started to go downward, because then the Alvin Bragg thing came in and so forth, and E.G. Carroll, and much more to come, because that planet does not leave that area for 3 years. So he's got a continuous, you know, the fetters, the shackles have come in. And when Saturn is around, you have to follow the planet or it will hurt you. It'll hurt you badly, right? Because Saturn, in a way, you could say, in the social order, represents the social order itself, the rules, the things we agree on. Like, for example, there are traffic lights, so we won't all kill each other with cars. You know, so you stop, you wait. There are rules that we all set up. He doesn't want to respect any rules. Well, then the social system says, no, we have to stop you, because if we leave you alone, you'll sell out everything to the Saudis, to the Russians. You know, he had the Russians at the White House the first week when he was president, and he was showing them documents. The man is remarkable. I'm amazed that more people aren't even more incensed, you know.
He wouldn't allow people to take notes in there. He had private meetings with Putin and wouldn't allow the gentleman to take notes. And they've always done that, you know. And then he took, in Helsinki, you know, he believed Putin over his own FBI and CIA. And it's like, my mind is just blown on a daily basis that I still have friends and family members that.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
I know. And I'm trying not to lose my friends that I've known since probably childhood, but I just can't talk about this stuff. When they start, I just have to walk away or tell them, you know, listen, you want to keep our friendship, you better not talk about this because I'm on the opposite end of you, you know. And I tried to talk to them forever about this and tell them facts, but they don't want to hear facts.
I know. Well, that's the thing. I mean, the thing is that they play this game because all the Republicans, they were kind of going this way already. This party was you could tell even in the Bush years that it was descending into this anything goes. We don't have to tell the truth. And then when Trump came in, they took it to the limit, and so they all kind of go along with this idea that something happens and they tell you the opposite of what just happened. Like, for example, the Intel Committee of the Senate, when Lindsey Graham and Marco Rubio were heading that committee, concluded in writing that there had been attempts at collusion with Russia. It is clearly written in there as part of the government record. And then they went on Twitter and immediately said, oh, we found nothing. And so their supporters read the tweet and they won't go and read the actual transcript. And so then they don't know what is actually happening. And so now Trump will say, oh, they're coming after me. The records, look, they should have gone after Trump. And he doesn't mention that Trump and Pence, when they were asked for the records, they sent them back. They themselves call the archives to say, hey, I found some records. Please take them away. Trump instead is in the back going, I'm not giving you the records. They're my records. Then he goes on CNN and says, I have a right to take the records. I really, really hope he gets nailed in court with those statements on CNN. It would be really ironic to say, you make statements in public, they are legal statements, and you need to account for yourself.
He said he did it. He said, I took them. I had every right to take them. They were mine. I could share them if I wanted. You know, he national TV, like you said, that's public. That's got to be admissible. I'm sure Jack Smith got that.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I'm sure lawyer there, she's suing him for another $10 million. Because he didn't learn his lesson from the $5 million.
Oh yeah, no, for sure, or worse. I mean, she's put it out. Who can say that jury might end up awarding her even more money than that? You know, it's yeah. And now today the judge said to him in the other case, in the Alvin Bragg case, on a Zoom call, he told Trump and his lawyer, here are the rules. If you break the rules, it'll be contempt of court and so forth. But Michael Cohen, who knows him really well, the ex-lawyer, he had predicted that he would never abide by anything because he said, this guy is incapable. He just doesn't know how to relate without breaking rules. And this is the problem. Saturn is the rules. He's on a Saturn cycle now for 3 years. There's no way out. And I said in a collaboration yesterday, I brought up how his chart changes significantly, very significantly in August, which is a little weird because we're starting to hear Fonnie Willis, August, right, that whole thing. But now I'm kind of wondering if already there's pressure in the summer, and I wouldn't be surprised if Smith charges before that, like before August. And so August is just another level. It's just that the August period has this feeling of the end in a way, like just a mountain that is so impossible to overcome, because the ascendant change, it happens every like 25 years, and it happens to change for him to a sign that is very unfavorable, because what it does is it highlights all the legal stuff and takes away his messaging, the effectiveness of his messaging, that, by the way, has carried him for decades, because that ascendant came in the 80s, and it's been like that until now. So, I mean, any astrologer would tell him, you're playing with fire, and I'm not kidding around, but he wouldn't listen. He would just say, whatever, you know.
Brad, yeah, what is his name? Not Brad. What was the attorney general, his attorney general?
Oh, Bill Barr. Bill Barr.
It left my brain for a minute. He said that he thinks the documents is the thing that he needs to fear the worst, and that he sees that probably, and I was doing my pendulum math, and I'm getting about the same thing around late summer, early fall. They're coming indictments for him. You know, that'll be coming up.
Okay, well, that would be August, right? But yeah.
Yes,
possibly.
And so that's what he was saying too. And I use my pendulum math, I'm getting about the same thing, but he's just going to keep saying that this is a political attack, and they're not after me, they're after you, and I am just protecting you, standing in their way. But 34 federal indictments, and every single one is a witch hunt, and his people believe that?
Well, I mean, look, in the end, I mean, the thing is that the sad part of all this is that you can have millions following you, which is really tragic that a country can have this many numbskulls, you know, people that are this lacking in education and also decency. Why would you follow an indecent man? This man is a wicked SOB. That's what he is. He's a good-for-nothing sack of filth. Why are you trying to convince me otherwise? You shouldn't trust this guy as far as, you know, just stop. They won't do it. But even so, they've lost numbers, and they will lose some more numbers. And what this does is it's going to mean the election is very hampered for the GOP, because by tying themselves to him, you see what happened in the last elections. He's lost everything since 2016. All they do is lose, lose, lose. Like, even mayoral races in red states are going Democratic. That should be telling you, like, often these pundits will tell you, if you're seeing the smaller races going to a certain party ahead of a national election, be careful. That's a signal about where the public is, right? So, you know, as this keeps going, the chances are, you know, they end up losing. And so how is this going to help them? It's unbelievable. So in a way, it's better for the Democratic Party that he be
and
around.
they still listen to him because the debt ceiling now. He has told them, he said when he was president, there's no way they should use the debt ceiling for negotiations. There's no way they should do that. Now he's saying, you don't bargain with them till you get everything but the kitchen sink. He's telling the GOP to do that. They went to him and asked him, why, when you were president, you said that they would never, and he said, well, that's because I was president then and I'm not now. And his fans, or whatever you want to call them, was laughing.
Yeah,
Like,
no, right, right.
funny. This is
Yeah.
hypocritical. It's not funny.
Yeah.
And messing with us, the people's livelihood, you know?
Yeah.
And he doesn't care. And what gets me is McCarthy. I think I was throwing cards on it, and he thinks that this is helping him, but it's really hurting him. I think the only people that are with him is the super duper MAGA that believe everything Trump tells them to. But the independents he's losing. They're going to be losing the moderate Republicans because you're taking away. There are Republicans that are on food stamps too. There are Republicans that have lost their jobs due to COVID, due to whatever reasons too, that need a, you know, and you're messing with their children eating, you know.
No, it's true. No, it's true. It's totally true. It's totally true. And I agree with you, by the way, on McCarthy. McCarthy's chart is in no shape to try to pull any stunts. He's more likely than not, like by far, to get himself in a jam. Probably he'll have to cave, and then he'll get in trouble with his radical people in his party, and then he may have problems, you know, so that he might have to leave the speakership. I don't know, but the situation for him from spring of 23 till next almost spring, like late winter, it's like that, bad. It doesn't work, you know, too much Saturn.
I'm feeling like a lot of people are thinking he may do the 14th Amendment Biden. I think he's going to take it to the wire. I pulled a thing here and it says, you know, I got the Queen of Pentacles. I was pulling some cards on that. I don't know if I can see that,
Yeah.
but it's showing that he's sensible. He's going to do what he needs to do, you know, to secure, he's going to pay that debt. And I don't think Biden is going to want to take from food stamps. He's not going to want to take from the poor to do this. And so if he has to use the 14th Amendment, I think he will. But I think they're going to push him right to the end, you know. And then I don't know if that goes to court, you know.
You know, I don't know. My sense, though, is that I don't think there's enough there in what I see to bring forth a big crisis, you know, because if you start talking actual default, I mean, the cascading effect is huge. And you would see, you know, something like, for example, when you look at the pandemic, there was a cluster of planets in Capricorn that actually affected everyone in the world, not just the US, but the US was particularly affected because those planets were affecting the US chart, et cetera, et cetera. Point is, you see that. You see something, you know, that has that effect. I don't see it here. So then the odds that people are saying, well, if they default and, you know, if we lose 8 million jobs, and then that would cascade all throughout the world. It doesn't feel that way to me. It just doesn't have that feeling. You know?
And how is that going to help McCarthy or the Republican Party? But I think what their thoughts are is that if they can just crash the economy, they can blame it on Biden.
Well, they can, but except that part of the problem is that this kind of behavior, and they know this too, I'm sure, is that people are a lot more attentive now than they were in previous years. People are watching, they're on pins and needles. They know who's to blame. They understand pretty much. So if you know you're already behind and that it's known that 55%, that's, you know, people are always talking about Biden's approval rating, blah, blah, blah. Biden is in the 50s. Get over it. That's what's going to happen when time comes to vote. That's why you see some polls, he's as low as 40 or even 36, but I've seen polls where he's 50. And then the other person, the Trump, whoever, is 42. It's basically like we're in a 55-45 or 54-46 world. And so if you poll stunts like this, you're likely to add to the 50s, not to the 40s. It just makes no sense because you're going to inconvenience more people. So I'm skeptical that they're going to push it to a point where, okay, we'll just burn the house down and then say that they're the arsonists. Yeah, sure. But does that seem logical? No. So
if they do that, it's going to turn. It's going to backfire on
Right.
It's definitely going to backfire on them. It's not, like you said, people are more aware. People that I know, a lot of people are watching things more and they're looking into things because it's affecting us,
Mm-hmm.
but I see Biden winning. I see Biden that he's going to win. I feel like he is. I cannot see Trump winning. And he said he could run from jail. I cannot even imagine that.
I mean, honestly, do you even see him? Like, I don't know how, with the chart that he has, I don't even know how he gets to run. I don't know how that happens. It's too complicated. The alignments are so poor. I don't know. It just feels to me like even getting there, getting the nomination is extremely complicated. So,
Read on it several times, and I keep getting that. I keep wanting to say he'll go to prison, but I never get he'll go to prison. But I do get that he'll be in a mental hospital because I honestly do, because he's already narcissistic. Seems like allegedly sociopathic, entertainment only, but I think that I think he will. I think he's going to snap the rest of the way because he's got 34 federal investigations and he's guilty. I mean, we all know he's guilty. We saw January 6th. We saw what come out of his mouth. We saw what he said on national TV that he kept the record. We saw that and he's saying don't believe what you see or hear on the news, just believe what I say. Well, it's coming out of his own mouth.
Yeah, no, and I mean, the one thing is that you have to keep in mind that because we're in this era where the millions that follow this guy, they don't watch the news you're watching, so they don't see him. They see very little of that. Not that if they saw it, maybe it wouldn't change their mind because they're so into this trip, but they're not seeing the repetition the way normal people who follow normal news that they call fake news. But hey, like I had an argument with a Trumper a little while back, and I just said, look, what's happening here is, how do we know anything? I know what I know because I watch news that you don't seem to like. You listen to a different type of news and you think something else is happening. Your problem is that things are going to turn out according to my news, not your news. That's the problem. And then when they turn out that way, you're going to say, oh, well, it's all a conspiracy. No, it's because you're watching stupid news that are fake. My news aren't fake. Your news are fake. And then when you lose, you play the victim. Oh, people are ripping us off. Everything is a conspiracy. No, it's not. The man is a crook. Just watch what he's doing. Listen to him. He's a crook.
You're right. How many times does Fox News have to say in court under oath that they are not a news station, that they are an entertainment station,
I know.
that they lied to the public? They paid how many? Didn't they pay almost $1 billion or something?
800 million, yeah.
Yeah. And now they still have Smartmatic coming after them. And they're going to win.
And it's not over because that chart, the chart of the origin of Fox, has a good 9 months left of intense peril, very dangerous around paying out. I remember when I first saw it, and I thought, and I said something around February or so, I think these guys are going to be paying a big chunk of money. Well, I think it's even bigger than what they've paid so far. It's going to cost them more. So,
I think Smartmatic is going to win because they already won the other one. So, I mean, they've already pled guilty pretty much. So Smartmatic is going to win. And then, who knows who else is going to be suing them. And then advertisers are going to start to pull from them. Yeah. I think if he was smart, he'd just sell it, get rid of it, the channel. But I can't believe people are still, I don't even think they told their people on Fox that
not
they
much.
lied.
No, not much. No. They go, I mean, this is the thing that they go with a model. And sometimes it's stunning to me because you'd think some guy who's made billions would be able to see the writing on the wall, but it's human nature. It's like moving the ship in a certain direction, and it's like the Titanic. It's hard to move, even though there's an iceberg there, you can't turn. So, I mean, you'd think Rupert Murdoch, with all his billions, would realize this is a loser. We're going in the wrong direction. And they're sort of trying because they've taken quite a few shots at Trump. They've been attacking him, but then they start to realize that the MAGA base, now it's like the inmates are running the asylum now. This is basically what Trump has accomplished. Because remember that Trump couldn't even he was in some kind of meeting with a bunch of MAGAs, And he told them that he took the vaccines, and they were really upset with him because they've decided they don't want to take vaccines. So then he has to say, well, yeah, vaccines are bad. That's why DeSantis now is anti-vaccine. So instead of the leader telling his followers, hey, stop being stupid, he's got to follow them along and do whatever crazy thing they're proposing, right?
How many hundreds of thousands of people's lives could have been saved if they would have just been a leader and said, not lied to us from the beginning, told us this is serious, told us that you need to wear a mask, if not for yourself, to protect your grandmother, other people's grandmothers, other people's children, that is patriotic, that is American.
Yeah.
If he would have said that, how many people would, instead of a Democratic hoax and, oh, it'll be over by Easter, oh, it's just like the flu. If he wouldn't have done that, how many lives would have been saved? And I wouldn't be surprised if some people who have lost family members file lawsuits at Fox because of that.
Yeah, well,
and Trump.
The bottom line is they're following, to me, Trump is probably, I would choose some combination of, well, I mean, all his planets are involved, whatever, Mars in some ways because of the aggression, Uranus, etc. But he's like a petulant teenager, that someone in their teens that never grew up, and that's what he does. He does, petulant teenagehood, and keeps doing it over and over. But it's unwise. It's unwise. Doesn't work. And they get repeated messages that it doesn't work, and yet they persist. They keep going in this way, hoping, like that adage that says, if you're doing something and it's not working, the definition of insanity is to continue doing it because you know that it doesn't work, so stop doing it. They keep going. So I guess we have to look at it on the bright side and think it's probably better for Biden, right? That they're behaving in this way because, it's not the only thing. I mean, think about this. Trump in the background is doing his usual stuff, but even he is smart enough to know that the way they're treating women is a really bad idea. He's not happy with this thing that they're doing around the abortion laws. And you see all these states passing these laws. This is not helpful for the general election. It's very unhelpful for them. It's helpful for the Democratic Party. But, who's telling these guys? Patriarchal men who've taken it upon themselves to dictate laws to women. Bad idea, stupid idea, in my opinion.
Yeah, and in 6 weeks, most women don't even know they're pregnant. They don't even know because the first month you can think, oh, it's just stress. It's just stress. Or people, I've missed periods many times because just stress. So you have to get to the second period to realize. And so they're in 6 weeks. They're going to force people that have been raped, have had incest, whose life is in danger, who maybe it was a mentally handicapped person who was raped, who cannot take care of a baby. There's so many situations that you can't just make it for all women. I have a friend who says, well, I don't believe in abortion. And I says, well, then don't have one.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. If you don't believe in being gay, then don't be gay. I mean, what are you talking about? Just if you don't believe in it, don't practice it. What's the problem? Right?
I don't believe in the Jewish religion. Okay, don't be Jewish.
Yeah.
Whatever it is you don't believe, you don't have to do it. That's what America is supposed to be. We're supposed to be the melting pot.
It's reached the point where the bad faith is so rampant with the Republicans that it's just totally disgusting. Like this thing they're doing where they saw the results in Kentucky and in Kansas where people in red states, obviously, because Kentucky and Kansas are pretty red, and they said no to this abortion thing, no. So now they want to pass laws to not allow the citizens to have these referendums because they know that they will lose. Like in Ohio, they're trying to scheme so you can't even have a referendum. Like they're saying you have to have 60%, not 50%. That's how draconian they are. To try to keep, now think about how twisted that is and how undemocratic. And they constantly say how Democrats are trying to destroy democracy. Democracy is based on one person, one vote, majority wins. At least I thought. But they don't want to play like that. They want to play whatever it takes. They want to be the minority rule party, which they already are, by the way. Anything they're ruling is from minority, less people.
I know. I had a friend of mine, she said, well, I don't want socialism. I said, well, I don't want fascism. I don't want a dictator. And for women, too, they're saying in some states, if they try like that 10-year-old girl that got raped, she got pregnant. They won't let the people leave the state. to go have an abortion elsewhere. Now they could get in trouble for that, and the doctor too. And I'm thinking, what are they going to do? Ask all women for a pregnancy test before you can leave the state?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, how are they going to know? I mean, it's like, oh,
it's
you
not
have a
funny.
woman in the car. We need a pregnancy test. Are you leaving the state lines? You know,
It's not funny. It's not funny, but it's borderline comedic. I mean, you feel like you're watching, some B-rated movie. There's a movie that I remember watching years and years ago, maybe 2005. It was called Idiocracy, where remember that in the future everybody turned stupid, and there was a person who had been cryogenically frozen, and he emerges, and he's totally normal for his era, but all of a sudden he's a genius because they've all gone dumb. And you think to yourself, these people are doing the same thing. But I think really what is going on, though, and I've mentioned it already in another collab somewhere, that really, if you want to get at the essence of it, like, why is this happening with someone like Trump, is because we're in the Civil War, the cycles in the Civil War, the Neptune, Saturn, Uranus, so Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, that's the progression of the three. Those three are in very similar places to the Civil War. So if you think back to the Civil War, it was a racial problem. And we're having the same problem again, because this whole thing is being driven by aggrieved, especially white, but not always, I was going to say aggrieved white males, plenty of females as well, but mostly males. And so they're looking at Trump as being the defender of their cause. They're a little bit like, in a sense, they're doing like a KKK march. We're defending our thing here, and you're trying to take away our country. We should be ruling the country, and there shouldn't be, especially Obama. Obama drove him crazy. The idea that there's a black guy in charge of the country, this was the worst thing that could possibly happen, even though Obama's brain is easily 10 times, 20 times, 100 times the capacity of this dimwit, that lives in Florida. I mean, the man is a dimwit, imbecile. Of course, Rex Tillerson said he was an effing moron. He is. He's a total moron. This is who they're following. But he's a racist moron. So, hey, let's follow him. It's incredibly sad. But all we can think is, we did win the last one. Eventually, the country made the choice. It can be done again. We have to be patient and go through it and live through, some problems. But I still see the rule of law for now. I see it, it's moving, it's marching. And yet, we can't lose this next election, because can you imagine if the election is lost, they'll try to stop all the prosecutions, right? They'll try to.
They will, and they will. And I think that's what, like some of them, like, oh, did you hear about all Rudy Giuliani and the felon pardon? I got a feeling that's what he's holding off for. I think he's holding off, thinking maybe that he is having faith and praying that Trump will win and pardon him from all this.
Yeah, but that's a bad play, because betting on Trump right now, Trump is a really weak horse now at this point. Yeah. Trump's game is known. He is not a good candidate to bet on. He's not. It just isn't. The odds are really bad. Matter of fact, if you want to see another election with 160 million, like last election broke all the records, because people, yes, he pulled in more votes, but Democrats pulled even more votes. That's another thing that people seem to misunderstand. Like, if you look at the numbers going back a long time now, back to the Bush administration, the reason Republicans are always upset is they're always 5% in deficit. Always. There's an election and they don't get as many votes. Maybe not every election, but overall, right? Like, even Hillary had 5% more than, or 3.5%, 4% more than Trump. And then when that 2020 election happened, and it was such a, pitched, argumentative, horrible period, he went from 63 all the way to 72. He got 9 million more votes, which of course people would say, wow, how did they find 9 more million to vote for this person? But Hillary had gotten 63 and Biden got 82. He got even more. So in other words, when you look at the percentages, it's the same 5%. They go up, and then the Democrats go even more. This was happening. Do you remember when they were having, an election in Louisiana, which is typically red, and I remember the analysis said there was a lot of voting going on, and Republicans voted even more, but Democrats voted even more than that, always, to get above that, which is telling you that some amount in the country that I think is at 5%, which is not a lot, but 5% of millions is a lot of people, obviously, right? That 5% is sane enough to keep us, to keep the situation in control. And that's all you can do. I mean, democracies are difficult that way. I mean, it'd be so great if you could say he won 90 to 10. No, you don't win 90 to 10. You always win relatively close. The point being, though, the numbers are against them. They're fighting an uphill battle. By the way, not to mention that when all is said and done, right, if you look at the panorama going into 2024, where is it being fought? It's being fought in Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Arizona, and Georgia. And they have to win most of those. And how are they going to do that? That's not easy. That's not easy to do, right? With a person like Trump. They know him already, right? So the same people that were scared last time will be scared this time. They'll vote, and you have a problem, right? That's
what
logic.
they're pushing is they're pushing a lot of them that Biden at this age. Well, Trump's almost the same age, and then they're pushing that I had people say, he's old, Biden's old, he has dementia, and there are some people that are racist that are saying, if you vote for Biden, he won't make it the full term, and then you'll have Kamala, and they can't stand the idea of a woman president, much less a woman president of color. But I would have her in a heartbeat. I think she's a very smart woman.
Of course.
I used to love watching her argue different points in the sense she was so intelligent.
Of course.
But you'd rather have somebody 4 years maybe younger that's an idiot and a criminal and a rapist, as opposed to somebody who's older. And they said Biden has gotten the unemployment from, it was 6-point-something% to 3-point-something%, which is better than the 90s or the 80s.
Yeah, no, for sure. No, but I mean, that's the thing. See, they live on, the Republicans, particularly taking the lead from Trump's game, and it's in his chart, by the way. He's got a very overloaded third sign, which is a place of talking, messaging. In fact, it's the place of names. Like a person's name is the third sign. And if you know Trump, all his money that he's made has been through his name. He stamps his name on things, and that's how he makes his money, right? But also, the whole logic is, I'll just say it, I'll repeat it, I'll say it. That's the whole game. And now that party is doing this over and over and over. But that has limits, because at a certain point, for one thing, not everybody's going to, they'll hear you say it and they'll go, I've heard that before, I'm not buying it. And the numbers are telling you what that is. On that level, that's political. And on the legal level, you can say whatever you want, but the judge will say, no, the National Records Act does not say that you can take the records. You can say that it does, but it doesn't say that. Like that Republican judge had told a woman way back when, she kept going to court trying to get rid of Obama, saying he was from Kenya. And this Republican judge looked at her and said, listen, just because you say something doesn't make it true. And if I see you in my court, again, I'm going to throw you in jail. And that was it. She didn't come back, right? It's like this logic that I'll just say it. That's Trump's thing. I'm going to repeat. But that's the thing that I was telling you earlier. The chart is changing so that it's crippling the message. Like the idea that he's done this for his whole life, that's ending, and at least in the effectiveness of it, right? It no longer will have a grip. And that's a problem.
And if he gets a judge that he thinks is not a judge that he can buy, then he's like, well, they're against me. They're a never Trumper. They're and who gets to pick their judge when they go, to court? Yeah. I don't. Nobody gets to pick their judge, and it's based on facts, But yeah, he tries to judge shop. He's trying to get rid of one judge that he thinks he don't have favor with and get another. But I don't feel it's going to work for him this time. No. What do you think of CNN them having him on? I thought that was surprising.
Well, I thought it was really what bothered me about CNN is that knowing Trump, the way it should have been set up is to say, because they gave the audience instructions that they could clap but not boo. Well, how's that going to work? I mean, that means you put in the Trump supporters, they're going to clap, and then apparently there were quite a few people in the crowd that disliked Trump, but they couldn't express their feelings. So that should have been left open to say, I would have told Trump, no, here's the deal, okay? Half of them like you and half of them don't like you. So if you want to go on there, feel free, but we're not going to set it up so just your guys can clap and the other guys have to sit there like this, frowning. It's like you're in a soccer stadium. There are two types of fans. They're going to yell sometimes for one and sometimes for the other. Do you want it or not? He set it up and they bit, but I don't think they will again. I think CNN won't do that again anytime soon.
I don't think so either, because a lot of people were boycotting CNN. Long time watchers were boycotting CNN. I'm not watching it.
Well,
but I think it did show when they were laughing about a woman being raped, and they were laughing about things like that. I think it a lot of women, maybe not those supporters of his that were planted there, but a lot of women, I think that turned off. If they were on the edge, that would have turned me off if I was on the edge of voting or not voting for somebody.
Exactly. But I mean, think about this though. If it turns out, in one of the potential many ironies of life, if it turns out that he, at least in part, gets in trouble in court for the records on account of what he said on CNN, then CNN can say, well, see, we gave you the evidence because we knew that this guy is such a clown. He was going to say it, because Trump is like that. I mean, if you question him, did you commit murder? Yes, I needed to. Of course, it's allowed, or whatever. I mean, insanity. No sense of. In fact, in astrology would be a really weak Saturn, because Saturn in your chart represents your boundaries, your common sense, your sense of, okay, how far do I go before the social order turns on me because it's trying to defend itself. It's very simple, right? But he has no respect for that. His idea is, doesn't matter. I have a set of rules that apply to me and I can impose them on anyone I want. It doesn't work like that. There's a certain point in life where it's very risky. Typically on a Saturn transit, of course.
I wonder if E.G. Carroll sues him. Well, he is suing him again. And I believe she's going to win. I feel she's going to win, but will he be able to keep his mouth shut even then?
Who are we talking about now?
When we were talking about CNN, what he said about E.G. Carroll?
Oh, yes.
Him again. I wonder even then if he'll be able to keep his mouth shut. Because he'll just, I feel like he'll just keep appealing, and he might try, but I don't think he's capable of censoring his speech.
Yeah, no, he's Trump that way. I mean, I wouldn't even be surprised if he's such a sleaze. I wouldn't even be surprised if, they run him down so bad that eventually he might try to escape the country to not have to face up to the, his legal obligations. It wouldn't surprise me one bit, because he's the type of person that'll do whatever he wants. He doesn't want to account for anything, and he'll just say something to justify it. But I could care less. If that were to happen, whatever.
Go.
I mean,
Go. Let us never
go.
hear from you again. Yes, go to Putin.
Right.
Go live with him.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I think I would love to see him go to jail. I don't feel like he will, but I do feel like he's just going to snap. But it would not surprise me.
Could it be? Could you have seen maybe? Cause I've had this. I wouldn't say it's a vision, more of a sense of a possibility. Could you see, like, for example, he gets sentenced, but to home confinement, so he's got to go around Mar-a-Lago wearing an ankle monitor. Is that possible?
I feel like I can see that for Ivanka. Because she'll turn on her dad, she'll turn on her husband, she'll turn on whoever she has to. She'll flip to learn from her dad so she can stay with her kids. I don't know about him. I think they'll have him in some sort of a hospital of some kind. And then maybe they might let him in, I don't know. I just want him gone. I keep feeling like he's not going to make it long either. That he'll go into a hospital, that he'll go, and I'm not wishing anything bad on anybody, but I keep getting that he's going to go into a hospital, he's going to lose it mentally, and then his physical health is going to go. And I don't even know if he'll make it to the 2024 election, to be.
Well, it is, yeah. By the way, that's something that I've talked about off and on with his chart, and it hasn't come to pass yet, except for when he caught COVID in 2020. But he is much like his comrade there, Vlad the Thug over in Russia. They both have very problematic health angles constantly circulating, And that can be a problem. And, you know, health is the kind of thing, particularly as we age, and if a person is being really dismissive and living the way he lives, because he's not only under constant stress, but he eats whatever, you know, throws everything in there, has this moronic attitude. According to him, we're born with a certain number of breaths, and so he doesn't want to exercise in case he runs out of breath. It's like, who thinks like this? I'm telling you that Rex Tillerson had him pegged for what he is, right? So the point being, it's risky because you could get a problem, a heart attack, or, you know, some issue that develops fairly suddenly, you know.
Well, yeah, because I got on him the Five of Swords, which, there you go. It's hard to get that right in the right spot. But the Five of Swords is him being defeated, you know, and he's going to have to walk away. He's not going to be able to be president. He's going to, it talks about it's a card of self-sabotage. He's sabotaging himself with all the things he's doing. And I got the Eight of Pentacles in reverse, which is everything he's working on. It's not going to work. He's not. His efforts are going to be for nothing. And I get at the future the Nine of Cups in reverse, which is him being unhappy, shattered dreams, a nightmare, being in misery, disappointed. And I think it's just all going to be. He is such a narcissist that he's not going to be able to take it. You know, and especially if his crowd, a lot of them start turning on him, he's not going to be able to take it. His ego, I just think and then it's going to affect him, either his heart or something like that. And like you said, you know, the way he eats, the way he gets angry, I don't see him going to jail, because I think he might even try the mental hospital on purpose to try to, you know, act like he has dementia, or they might try to play. His lawyers might say, well, he has dementia, he's old, he has Alzheimer's, he needs mental help. It's not, you know.
Yeah, it's like those mafia movies when they had some mobster and who had previously been, you know, fairly normal, and they would put him in the corner like he had become demented, and he can't testify, and then as soon as they would get him off, then the guy would be back on his feet pretending like nothing had happened. That would be Trump's thing.
I think I was doing my attention. I think it's being discussed now. I think his lawyers amongst themselves or whatever have discussed what they're going to do if he's indicted to keep him from going to prison. You know, can we pull the mental health card? And
yeah, well, you know, you can pull the mental health card, but the mental health card in the context of running for president is a pretty hard card to play. So you could play that card if you lose, maybe, sort of, but I mean, I don't know. Honestly, I'll just say this. I wouldn't want to be in his shoes. I certainly wouldn't want his chart. To me, it's very, very problematic. And this, you could see this coming for years. You know, it's just that it's the way it is. These things can build up over a long time. And, you know, if they follow the rule of life that says all sorts of things work until they don't work anymore. It's like that, you know, it's like that.
Well, I think he thought he was Teflon Don, and nothing could hurt him.
Yeah.
Do you, I was going to ask you real quick, I know we got to go, Chris, but do you, what do you think of DeSantis? Do you think, I don't feel he's going to win either. Well, I feel like he's kind of screwed himself.
Yeah, he definitely has. I think with DeSantis, though, I'm watching carefully to see if, as the days are passing and the weeks, because the Taurus, Jupiter just went into Taurus, and he's a Virgo, and so Jupiter in Taurus helps Virgo, and if you're a politician and you get that trine, it should pick up your energy. And so if his energy doesn't pick up pretty soon, like as we go into the summer, yeah, then I would say it just isn't going to get a grip. But even if it does, the problem that DeSantis has is that being a Virgo, he goes into 2024 with Saturn in Pisces, and Jupiter will enter Gemini in the middle of the year. That's two planets that are at odds. So his prospects for winning are really low. You know, it's not a good time to run to try to actually win big office. But you could be correct, and I know I've heard a number of people say, intuitive psychics, that they don't think it'll be DeSantis or Trump. And the problem with that is that I have no idea who they're talking about. But okay, I mean, I don't know. You know, like who, Romney? Liz Cheney? I doubt it.
Well, I pulled a couple cards about the Disney thing real quick, and I got the Hierophant. He's trying to stick to the traditional ways. You know, he doesn't want the gay people. He doesn't want any, you know, the woke people. I guess he wants you to be asleep. But I get the Ten of Pentacles for him in reverse that's saying he's going to lose a lot of money for Florida. He's caused a lot of misfortune, a lot of financial disaster. This can stand for financial disaster. And I'm thinking, Disney, you know, they're talking about they were going to build some Star Wars thing that was going to make probably millions or billions of dollars for Florida. And they pulled out of that. They were going to do another thing that was going to put lots of jobs into Florida economy, and Disney's pulled out of that. Disney's now suing him for, you know, taking their First Amendment right to be able to say how they feel about gay rights or whatever, and then going after them for that. So I feel like with the Three of Cups, that Disney's going to be successful. I don't know if I can get that.
There, you had it for a second.
Yeah, but there's a lot of fighting over money that he's going to be having. But yeah, it's just the feud with Disney. He's gonna lose. He's losing so much money for his state, so many jobs for his state. Even Disney had considered pulling out or talked about. So it's just made him look really bad. And I don't think he'll be reelected either as governor.
You know, when you were doing that, I had this flash. Now this is what I got, so I'll just say it. Could it be that? I mean, if you think of this scenario, right? If what you say about Trump turns out to be true, and it could be true, there's a definite lane there, and what I understand too, that his odds, like, is it possible that he might have a health event or some other major legal setback, and or like it could be both, sometime this year, which then puts DeSantis in the driver's seat because DeSantis is the next guy. But then you see Trump is the only one really that can play that insane game of lying, you know, practically at the rate that he breathes, that whole insanity thing. So imagine now that DeSantis then picks up the tempo, but then that opens the lane for a person who can speak to the Republican Party voters and say, we're not going to win with this guy. We wouldn't have won with the other guy either. You guys have to choose someone that has the odds of winning, because we're not going to win with this guy. He's got all these crazy rules. Women are never going to vote for him. This is where I've heard intuitives say that it would be a person kind of like a Mitt Romney type, a much more centrist, conservative type of person, who I don't think would win either, by the way. I think they would also lose. They just wouldn't lose as bad. But that would account for potentially no Trump, no DeSantis, a third person. Maybe. That was the flash that I got, as like how it could all sort of come together.
Yeah, I think so too, because that Tim Scott, they got it in there. I think that's his name. The one black guy that's running for president now. I was listening to him talk, and
that guy is, and he's also very. All I have to say about Tim Scott is I heard him say, he was asked about the judgment in New York. You know, the reporter asked him, what do you have to say about Trump being convicted in New York of this, of the documents, the felonies? And he said, oh, that's bad. And the guy said, well, that was a jury of his peers. And he goes, oh, a jury of his peers. Tell me something more than that. You know, honestly, man, that is low. Okay, low, like down here for a public official like you to say that. I'm sorry, that is really, really sleazy. This is garbage politics, really bad faith. So as far as I'm concerned, Tim Scott, no. Okay, no. Bad faith.
He was like, let me hear you yell, let me hear you yell. And I'm like, are you in the WWE wrestling, or are you running for president of the United States? Because where's the professionalism? Where's the Biden? He just, like I said, there's a night and day difference. A night and day difference. And he may be older, but he is wiser. And there was somebody who did a comedy skit at his when he was hosting for the journalists. They had the journalists all there, and he said, well, y'all say that Biden falls asleep, but I'll tell you, he may fall asleep, but when he wakes up, he gets stuff done.
I know. I mean, the irony of this whole thing is that Sleepy Joe, he's kind of like, maybe he's sleepwalking, but he seems to get a lot done. And people are always saying, oh, low popularity, he doesn't inspire me, this and that. But he keeps moving forward, and things keep, helping him out, basically. Things have worked out for him fairly well. If he ends up getting elected twice, and the odds are really good, I mean, basically, he's laughing at everyone while they're calling him old, and they even say he's lost his mind. I don't know, but maybe he's just fooling you all. Maybe he's even pretending to be asleep. Just to fool you. I don't
He
know.
fell off his bike, but let's see Trump get on a bike.
Yeah.
I admire him. He's in his 80s and gets on a bike.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think he's going to be president again. We'll see, but I definitely was so fearful about it. 45, and every time I read on him, and every other person that reads on him says no. So but that doesn't mean you shouldn't vote, guys. Everybody
no.
Like your life depends on it. It does.
That's the whole idea. The whole idea, if you hear a message from anywhere, whether you're hearing it here, some other person, or you watch, good, intelligent news, whatever, the objective is to help to encourage you to believe that it can happen, but it requires your vote. That's the whole idea. Democracy is not like, it'll happen, so someone else will vote. That's where things fall apart. That's what happened to Hillary Clinton. People just thought, there's no way Trump can win. And many didn't vote. Many Democrats stayed home, and that caused the loss. So it's super important that we don't make that mistake ever again. Ever. Because
so nice talking to you again. I just, I had so many things that were going on. It's like I didn't even know where we was going to start to talk. I mean, just between DeSantis and Trump and the CNN and just all the indictments, I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to call. That's right.
I know. The panorama is really rich at the moment. I mean, and whenever we think, okay, we've seen it all, then you wait a couple of days, you turn on the TV and you go, what? Who? Some other crazy thing where, like, who was expecting? I wasn't expecting. All of a sudden, they're saying that because the woman sued him. Of course, this is always men, with their thing, and they think like, Giuliani has this woman that he's promising money to, and I'd be thinking, well, what if she turns on me? Honestly, which is what she did. And now all of a sudden they're saying, he's selling pardons. He's, a sexual abuser. I wasn't expecting that. I mean, I already knew he's a crook like Trump. He's another, corrupt, ex sort of semi. He was never very straight, by the way. Giuliani's past, even in New York, when he was America's mayor, he was a race-baiting, divisive mayor. That's how he was accomplishing a lot of his wins. But then it all came out in due time, and now he's revealed as what he is. But I still wasn't expecting, this barrage of things coming out. And there it is. And so probably by next week it'll be Bill Barr next,
Probably. I wouldn't, every day it's something new. And then when you think they can't go any lower, they do. You just think there is no lower. They're hit the bottom. They're dig a hole to get lower.
No,
yeah,
I think the amazing thing is that people sometimes complain about the media. The so-called, what they call fake news, what I call the regular, normal mainstream media, the New York Times, the Washington Post, CNN, Politico. There are quite a few arms that are trying to tell you the truth. It is by far the most powerful tool the U.S. wields in keeping democracy alive, and probably the whole world, because I am amazed at how much these guys cover, where we'll see news today that I had heard like in December or November. They were already telling us there's this thing going on and something's happening, and then they confirm this many months later because there are reporters on the beat. So I definitely appreciate them a lot. Even if they don't get everything perfect, they get as close as possible, to keeping things going, which, by the way, is what fascists hate. Fascists hate.
That's what I was going to say. Why do you think Trump wants to call it fake news? And why do you think they wanted to bomb these people, CNN and stuff like that time when they gave a bomb? Because they want to stop the real news, just like Putin. They want the propaganda and only the propaganda. And so if they can convince their people that everything's fake except for what we tell you, then
exactly.
He's playing just like Putin. Putin probably told him what to do.
Oh yeah. Now Putin has all of Trump's enemies on the sanctions list of Russia. It's hilarious. It's just hilarious. Like when you think that this is happening, you think like, don't be too obvious or anything, man. I mean, come on. Like seriously, people already know that you're a fascist clown, and now you confirm it, right? By putting out the list, and you put Brad Raffensperger on there. I mean, come on. Why? Because Raffensperger probably thought, I don't want to go to jail. As Trump was saying to him, Same with Bill Barr, by the way. Bill Barr may be a crook, but he was smart enough to know, I'm stopping here. I'm getting off the train. This is getting too dicey. And away he went.
Ian Dale said, we will never, for the life of us, ever be able to figure out how he has pulled off fooling all these people when you don't need intuition, much of it at all, to look right, just to look at him, to listen to him speak and see that he's not a good person. And they have T-shirts, and they have hats, and they have flags, and they have bumper stickers. Never has a president had all this stuff. And trading cards with him being a military man when he got out because he said he had bone spurs, and here he's acting like he's a tough military man. And I think those went for $99, and now they're 99 cents.
Yeah, I know. Cadet bone spurs. That's who they're following. It's incredible.
I know, but they're showing him he's a cowboy, he's a man on the moon, he's a tough guy, and they're like, yeah, that's our guy. And it's like, oh Lord.
I know. Barf. All right. Well, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. The time has flown by because we're like a mind meld, and that we've kind of tuned into the same things, with what we both do, and in a sense, right? Which is good, because we're kind of telling people we don't think this is going to a terrible place, but we got to hang in there. We got to, go step by step, vote at every opportunity you get, especially vote in the general election, and hang in there and fight it out. That's my counsel.
Yeah, and do whatever it takes to get there. Don't let them cheat. If they move the polling place, you find a ride, you get someone, take people with you that don't have ways to get there. We got to win this. We cannot, cards say he's not going to win, but yeah, we can change things. If we do nothing, then the cards can be wrong.
Excellent.
So,
yeah, right.
Well,
Great
thank
advice.
you for letting me be on. It's so nice.
No, that was good.
I always love talking to you so much.
It was a pleasure.
Now
It was
I
a
get to
pleasure.
Pick up my puppy.
I'll visit your channel next time. All right.
Yes, I'll have you, because there's going to be more. I didn't even get through everything I wrote down.
Excellent. All right. We'll be talking soon. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.